Hi guys. I haven't had the chance to meet all of you guys, but I'm Max's friend, and Dr. Sleeman invited me to. He wanted me to give out a little testimony, so I prepared a small little message within my testimony. So my name's Juan. I am from Ecuador. Hispanic, Latino, in the South America, but so I wanted to focus on a little topic that kind of dances around my testimony, and it's how far God will go to bring you to His feet, like what He will do and how far He will go to bring you to His feet. So. Anyway, so to start, my entire life I have been contemplating on the question. It sounds a little cliche, like worn out for Christians, but what does it really mean to be a Christian? What does it really, a genuine Christian, what does it really mean to be a Christian? I wanted to get to the bottom of it, you know. I've lived a life of, let's just say, a hypocrite, calling myself a Christian and not tying my lips to my actions. And so, what does it mean? Does it mean that you believe in God? Does it mean that you go to church? Does being a Christian mean you believe in God and that you sing along in the worship? Does it mean that you try and be a good person? You know, hopefully that will get you into heaven. You know, does it mean that you grew up in a Christian family? It can mean a lot of things. Did you guys know, actually, I found this fact. I found it it was actually crazy. Did you guys know that in the world there's over 33,000 denominations under Christianity? 33,000 denominations, and growing, actually. That's crazy. I mean, how can you divide Christianity into so many little denominations? What is it, you know? Is that really... So anyway, that was shocking. Just to start off, I wanted to just talk about that. And to start off, I actually grew up in Ecuador. I grew up in South America in a very strict family, very strict Catholic-based family. It was really right on with Catholicism. I went to a boys-only school, Catholic school. So I was really stuck with the whole religion, you know. I was really stuck with the whole, do this, don't do that, follow this tradition, do that. Got to be careful with what I say, with what I do, work-based, you know what I mean? And it was, you know, I was a kid, I didn't know anything. But when I came here to the United States, my mom, she was a Christian, and I came to visit her actually because she had come to the United States looking for work, and it wasn't going very well for us back in Ecuador. So she came looking for work. I came to visit, and I ended up staying. I was introduced to this Christianity, to what I know now. But it was a long process until I was able to figure out what it really means to be a Christian. It really was. It was really. But anyway, everything started when everything rolls around this. When I was a kid, I grew up as an only child. I didn't really have kids at home, but I had two cousins of mine that I grew up with. Not having any siblings, kind of, you know, I was kind of bored. I was alone sometimes. But these two kids, they were my cousins. Man, I grew up with them, and they were like my brothers, you know. And actually, it's more like a crime calling them my cousins because we were inseparable. Back in Ecuador, I mean, we would go up and down as kids with these two guys. Anyway, so when we got separated and I came here to the United States, it was very hard for me, you know, leaving these two guys and coming here, just living with my mom, leaving everybody over there, but especially them. They were my you know, they were like, I don't know, like, I don't know, I want to say almost like soulmates, you know. These guys were just there for me, you know. And whatever, in any kind of situation I had, they were there for me. My two cousins. So I came here, I started learning English. I spoke no English. Came here around 2002. So yeah, I spoke no English. I was starting to really dig into this society here, the culture. And at first, I veered off to Christianity from Catholicism, and I really sought God. I really wanted to get to know God, the real God, you know. I really wanted to get to know Him. I wanted to get close to Him. And you know what? He did, because His Word promises that if you seek Him with an honest heart, He will reveal Himself to you. You will find Him. And He did. I mean, it was crazy. But anyway, as I started, you know, as I was here, I went into high school, the popular high school. Right now, I graduated last year, but I went into high school, and man, high school, it's a huge challenge for people like us. For us, it's a huge challenge for teenagers, especially Christian teenagers, because they know the right thing. But man, when you go into high school, it's a whole different world out there. And I started heading downhill. I really started going to church. You know, I started going to church hoping that would sort of satisfy God's need for me to be there. Besides that, I would go to high school, man, I would be a completely different person. I would be hanging out with the wrong people. I would be cussing like I've never cussed before, you know. And then I would go home, and I would be the good boy in front of my mom. The good boy I've always been, you know. Throughout this time in high school, I always felt the conviction of the Holy Spirit. Why? Because I had accepted Christ in my heart before, so I did have that knowledge. I had the knowledge of right and wrong, as we all do. And I started feeling this conviction, but you know what I did? I kind of like brushed it off. I was like, He was telling me, hey, this way. Tomorrow. I was scared. I was literally scared, because when I would go to church and I would hear the pastor, Christ, Jesus, He died for you and He wants your entire life. He wants control of everything. He doesn't want control of 90% of your life. He wants everything. And that kind of scared me, because I knew a lot of things that I did, even music I listened to, it wasn't what a Christian would listen to, right? So I was scared. I was like, you know, God, I love you. And I would wrestle with this. I was like, God, I really do love you, but I just find this almost impossible. How do I change? This is me, you know, and I like this. And that was my flesh. I was like, I like doing this in school. I like doing that. I like doing that. So I would go to church and walk out in shame, because the pastor would be, you know, if you want to dedicate your life to Christ, just give Him your all, and give Him access to every room in your heart. And I would walk out in shame. I would be like, I didn't do it. I can't. I don't know why. I love you, God. I know the right thing, but I couldn't do it. So anyway, so that was high school for me. I gained my permanent residence, sophomore year. And so that allowed me to go back to Ecuador. It had been 6 years since I hadn't been there. And so I went back. And I saw these two guys that were always there for me. My two cousins that were like I said, they weren't really cousins. They were brothers, you know. And I had the privilege of knowing two people like that. Being that close to somebody is just... It's just an awesome thing. So I went back after 6 years to Ecuador. And some people might think, wow, you know, that's a big gap. You know, that's a big gap. I wonder how you guys got along, you know, because in 6 years, you know, we went from little kids to teenagers, you know, and next thing I know, we're growing beards and just look. No, you know what? Time, all it did is brought us closer together. Time. We picked up right from where we left off when I went back 6 years after living in the U.S. and Ecuador. I was there for the summer. I was just there to see them. I spent the summer there. Went back to the United States. Went back to high school. Same old. I got involved in this Christian group. I remember this Christian club. But I would go in this club, go in the club, be somebody, walk out of the club. You get the picture. So, out of these two guys that these two brothers, I was especially close to one of them. I had this, I had so many more things in common with one of them than the other one. So, this guy, man, whenever I would go to Ecuador, we would hit it off. I mean, this guy, there were two of them, but one of them was just special, always had the cherry on top. He and I would share everything. He and I would listen to the same music whenever I had a problem with, like teenager stuff, maybe a girl or whatever, or him. We shared that. We would always be, just spending tons of time together. He looked up at me because he saw I spoke two languages. I came from the United States, which to people down there is a big deal. So he looked up at me, but I looked up at him because I could see he had something special. And what was that? He had the Lord. He really had the Lord. And how did you know? Well, the Bible speaks of fruits. How will you know somebody? By their fruits. I saw his fruits. So even his brother, which was my other cousin, even he would see his own brother following Christ the way he. So, but I really secretly kept that to myself. I never told him, hey, I see you're different. Hey, can you give me some advice? Hey, I was a very proud person. He was very humble, but we got along together. And man, we were very close. But anyway. Second semester of junior year. I'm in junior year, living this life, and he's in Ecuador. And I'm at Disneyland with my cousin's birthday. It was my cousin's birthday. It was the 12th of February, 2010. We were at Disneyland. I was having the time of my life. I was living in this dream, I didn't really have anything necessarily wrong with my life. So I'm in this, in this delusion. Everything's cool. Everything's fine. Everything's good. There's no problems. Everything's good, man. And I'm at Disneyland, happiest place on earth. And at night, I remember like it was yesterday, I check my phone and I see tons of missed calls from Ecuador. I'm like thinking, well, what happened? Somebody's trying to get a hold of me. Okay. Well, anyway, my mom just calls me out of nowhere. He's like, hey, we got to go home. What? I'm at Disneyland. I'm with a whole bunch of people, Mom. Like, with my cousin. And he invited his friends. And I want to go out. Like, we want to keep going on, like, I don't know, like Space Mountain or whatever. And then, like, no, we got to go right now. That's what my mom said. I'm like, okay. So I went to meet them. And my mom, she looked weird, and I'm like, maybe she had a fight with my stepdad because she's married. Maybe they had some sort of problems. I'm not even gonna ask her about it. But we gotta go. She's telling me, okay, we're leaving early. We're leaving Disneyland early. Okay. We get home. It was nighttime, and I said, okay, all right, I'm gonna go to bed. Everything's cool. And that following morning at 6 a.m, I get. I'm in bed, and I hear a knocking on my door, and my stepdad, as well as my mom, is at the door, so I get up and I open the door. I like to lock it. You can't just walk in, I like that. So I get up, open the door. I'm sort of annoyed. Who wouldn't be? Like, at that point, I was also very immature. So I was like, what? What do you need at 6 a.m? The sun's barely rising, and she's looking at me, and she starts tearing up. So she goes, "Come over here," and so we sit down, and she basically breaks the news. The news that. She told me that this brother of mine in Ecuador, okay, she told me, hold on. Yeah, she told me there had been an accident. I mean, she didn't, she, she started off like that. And I'm thinking, what? And she goes, there's been an accident. And then she says, she says Juan Andres, which is one of them, Juan Andres. He's in the hospital. He's okay. He's okay. I'm thinking, that's great. What about the other one? The one I'm the closest to. When I get off of that plane in Ecuador, the first person I want to see is him. And he was always there for me. Whenever I got off that plane in Ecuador, what about him? What about him? What about Jose Luis? That was his name. I'm thinking, there was an accident. She starts crying and she breaks it to me. He passed away. He's dead. And so it was literally night and day, a split second, like that. A person can just go to heaven. Something like that can just happen. Something so massive, to such extent, something in my life could just change in that second. Come on, I never thought it would be possible. My mom comes and tells me that the closest person I've ever been to had an accident and passed away. What had happened was that it was actually something very bizarre as well. They were in Ecuador and there was a gas line that started leaking. And my two cousins with their friends were in their apartment. And CO2, I guess, if you start breathing, you can't really smell it, but it starts taking away the oxygen from your brain. So people just start knocking out randomly. So 5 people, my aunt walks in her room, the apartment, and she finds 5 people, including her 2 sons, on the ground knocked out. She has no idea what's going on. They're almost dead. The only one that didn't make it was the one that was most valuable to me. Man, what happened? What happened there? You know what happened? I'll tell you what happened. I was living in this dream. I was living in this delusion. I was living in this sort of Christian labeled kind of high school guy's life, okay? You know what happened? God took that veil off my face and I was like, wow, I just woke up to reality. This is life. This is life. I mean, what is going on? Where have I been the last couple years? Seriously. I mean, man, I was distraught. It really brought me to the lowest point of my life. What was I supposed to do without him? And you know the worst part is that he's all the way in South America. All this is going on. All this commotion with my family, which I grew up a very family-oriented person. They're all, I can't be with them through this tragedy? What's going on? So then I'm over here thinking, God, what the heck? What? At that point, I didn't know what I wasn't aware of the kind of life that I was living, man. And so you know what God said? I feel like God, this is what he did. When that happened, it felt like God took me by the shoulders, okay? And he shook me. He's like, Juan, wake up, man. Come this way. Come towards me. Stop avoiding me. Wake up, man. This is reality. I love you. Like, come on, Juan. He shook me. He was like, thankfully, I wasn't those people that, I had enough knowledge to know that God, he's a perfect God. It was God's will. I never retaliated against him. I was never like, God, I hate you, or God, I don't believe in you anymore. It was a risk. But no, I thankfully I took it the right way. And I said, I need you more than ever. I need you more than ever. I don't know where I'm at, And so I started seeking him again. And he really opened up to me. He really revealed himself to me. And it was a process. Like the Bible says, our walk with him, it's a walk. It's a process. It's not a step. It's not like walking. It's not like taking a step from this room out into the outside. Bam, bam, you're there. No, it's a walk. It's a walk. Was it a transformation from, a radical transformation? No, it took time. When my cousin passed away, I saw, and it was almost like that's how far God had to go to get my attention, and that just breaks my heart. Is that how far God has to go with us to get our attention sometimes? He has to take somebody away that you love? He was saved. So I have the peace in my heart knowing by faith that because he had Jesus, he's in heaven and I will see him one day. I'm not mourning anymore. But that was the reality, man. That was the reality. He really shook me. He woke me up. I was like, and then I said, okay, I'm a student. I'm your servant. Teach me, how do I live this life? What does it mean to be a Christian? Okay, well, I obviously had it wrong. What does it mean to be a Christian? And basically, I now know and I understand what it means to be a Christian. What does it mean to be a Christian? It doesn't mean that being a Christian, you fall under one of the denominations, under all those 33,000 categories, okay? Being a Christian is just 4 words. Follower of Jesus Christ. That's all you need, and that's all it takes. Being a Christian. To some people, that might be something quite obvious. But to me, it took years to find that. Because I had to, it was still a transition from a religion to Christianity, to a true Christianity. As many of you probably have heard, it's really about a relationship with him. It's not about a religion. It's not about worrying if you went to church last Sunday or not. It's not about worrying about when was the last time you opened your Bible. I mean, it's about you taking care of your relationship with Christ. Just like you have a relationship with your brothers or your parents or your best friends. It's the same thing. That's what I found out. That's what true Christianity is. That's what I found out. That's what I awoke to that when my cousin died. And is that how far God has to go to get our attention? There might be people in this room who are like giving him 70 or 80 or maybe 90%. But he wants your all. He wants your all. How did I do that in my life? How did that happen? I was struggling with that. I was wrestling with that. Like I said before. I would walk out of church with a shame. How is it possible to give him my all? I seriously didn't understand. And so, it's really quite simple. In John 14:15, it says, "If you love me, you will keep my commandments. I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper, that he may be with you forever. That is the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it does not see him or know him. But you know him, because he abides with you and will be in you. I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you." Okay. So the first part, he's saying, if you really love me, you're going to follow my commandments. Okay. Can we really say that we can say that we love him, but can we really say that we always follow his commandments? I don't follow his commandments all the time. I really don't. And I try as Christians. He says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. But this is the crucial point. If you try and keep his commandments on your own strength, rely on your power, rely on your, basically on yourself to follow his commandments, it won't work, guys. It won't work. If you try and do something, if you try and get out of something, if you're trying to quit something, if you're trying to stop speaking some way, if you're trying to do anything that will please him, if you do it by your own power, it won't work. That's why he's saying right here. That's why he knew that. He knew that. That's why he said, I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper, that he may be with you forever. That is the Spirit of truth. We need help following his commandments. We need help changing. And I realized I needed help giving him my all because I couldn't. How did I do that? With the Holy Spirit. Giving my life to Jesus Christ has been the easiest thing. It's like breathing has been the easiest thing. Why? Because all you have to do is rely on him and he'll do the rest. Don't try and stop on your own. You can't. Eventually, maybe you can for certain time, for like a certain period of time, but eventually we will fall because we're not perfect, and that's okay. That's why we need him. You need him to change you, not you to change yourself. I needed him to change me. That's what he showed me. When my cousin passed away, that's what he showed me. What does it mean to be a Christian? To have a relationship with him. To just have a clear and understanding relationship with him. You know, I like to share my faith with people. And there's this small analogy I use to try and get them to understand what it really means to be a Christian. Not a Lutheran, not a Methodist, not a Baptist, just a Christian. It's like if you guys say, we're having the elections coming up, right? So there's Obama. He's up there. He might be reelected. I don't know. But I can assure you that every single person in this room knows who Obama is. Why? Because he's the president of the United States. Not just that, but he's the president of one of the powers in the world is the United States. I mean, people in Ecuador, my parents, my family know who he is. I mean, everybody knows who he is. So what if you decided one day to go to the White House and start knocking on the gate? You start knocking on the White House, you start knocking on the gate, and you start raising your arms, you start waving. Hey, I know Obama. Let me in. I know him. Let me in. I mean, come on. Like, dude, are they going to let you in? Obviously not. Hey, he has a wife. He has kids. Obama's black. Like, Obama, I know this about him. I know that. I mean, come on. I know Obama. Of course you know Obama. Come on. Let me in. Let me in. Okay, let's just say there's a security guard there. He's going to be thinking to himself, everybody does. Duh. Like, but what if Obama sticks his head out? If he was actually there, and he sticks his head out, and he recognizes you. He's like, oh, yeah. I know him from high school. I know him from, he says he's Christian, so he might say church. I know him from, I don't know. I met him at the store one time. I don't know. He's Michelle Obama's friend, or he's my daughter's friend, or whatever. But see, the point is, he knows you. That will make a difference. Yeah, I know him. Open the gate. Let him come in. Walk in.
I know what you're.
See, guys. That's basically what I came to. This is what I came to when I gathered myself after after this happened. This is what I came to find out. And guys, this is what we really need to focus in: having a relationship with him. Coming here is a great thing, but that's not going to do anything. Because your hands and feet can be here, but if your heart isn't here, I don't know what to tell you. So what's something I could really get out of this? I wrote this little, you can run as fast as you can from him, and his love will still pursue you. His love will still pursue you. That really, I mean... Anyway, so guys, what does it mean to be a Christian, a follower of Christ? That's it. As simple as that. If you have any troubles letting something go or doing something, acting upon something, changing something within yourself, if you try and do it on your own, you won't be able to. Give it to Christ, and he'll do it in a heartbeat. It's a walk. It's a process. All right, guys? So that's a little message I wanted to give with my testimony. Thanks for inviting me here, and thanks a lot, guys, for listening to me.